And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Shawn Maloney. Shawn, thanks for being here today, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me, Michael.
You are welcome. Shawn is a special guest. Shawn's one of my clients. He's become a friend over time. Shawn is the Amazon best-selling author of The Priority of Retirement. And we're going to have a great conversation because, well, Shawn, you know as well as I do, everybody needs to be planning for retirement, but not everybody makes it a priority. And that's why I love the title of your book and what you do and how you bring a lot of things to the table. So that's what we want to talk about today. And as we get started, tell me in our audience, Shawn, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, I love this question because we have such a passion about doing this. I'll put a Reader's Digest version together here, right?
All right.
So go back all the way back into college, right? And of course, I got my degrees and all those kind of things, but it all really started way back, believe it or not, back in the eighth grade when I played this stock market game, right?
Yeah.
And it was all no digital internet back then. It was just all, hey, you played with fake money, but real stock market. And it just hooked me. So at a very young age, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Life has its twists and turns or whatever. And it took me a minute to get around to what I'm doing. Ended up working for a couple of different financial firms and whatnot, but really honed in on the retirement side of things. A lot of people probably remember what happened in 2000 and 2008, but really 2008 when the market was down, average portfolio was down around 50%, and all these retirees that were getting ready to retire or had just retired just really struggled. And there was a lot of studies and whatnot that came out about only about 10% of Americans had a drawdown plan for retirement, a true written plan. And that really turned my focus to focus in not just on accumulation and financial planning, but retirement planning.
Mhm.
And God's blessed me. It's really taken off. It led me to creating my own company that focuses in on this. And God just put everything lined up in the middle and lined everything up to make this happen. And we just love helping people out. It's a blessing to be able to help people and have a job at the same time doing the same thing. It's fantastic.
It is really cool, isn't it? I love your passion of what you do and how God intersected that. You're a man of faith, so am I, and I love that aspect about you. But because I know you do a lot of work with people of faith in churches and things, but that's
Yeah.
not your exclusive market. And but
Right.
but you really help people understand that. And I'm going to come back to the book, The Priority of Retirement. And I think it goes back to that study you said, less than 10% back then of people
Yeah.
had kind of a written plan. It's one of those things, retirement, we think about it, we know we should do it, but
Right.
we don't know kind of how to even get started or what to do
Right.
because there's so much noise out there. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit at a high level. Yeah, but weird question. Why should it be such a big priority, and when should somebody start, and what are some basics that they should be thinking about, I guess, as they look for a retirement?
Yeah, of course, the canned answer. Everybody's got any advisor's always going to say start as early as possible, right?
Yeah.
Um, and we do. We work with people that are young, and that's fantastic. But let's face it, reality is life happens, and people have good intentions, and you say you're going to start, and you want to start saving, but you don't, or you do, and you have to stop because life happens. But as soon as you, obviously, yes, as soon as you can, you want to start planning for that, and it's never too early to start thinking about how to save because earlier you save, the less sacrificial it is later on. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's fast forward a little bit. The majority of the people end up having that oh crud moment when they're in their 50s, around right mid 50s or so. And what that oh crud moment is they had a life event. They had grandbabies. Their last kid went to college or high school, graduate or whatever. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do with our future?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wait, we didn't do all that saving for retirement we said we were going to do, right? But my other comment there, it's never too late either. Everybody deserves a plan, right? And so get an analysis of where you're at, where if you have gaps, how do we fill those gaps? And the key is one, obviously, I'm going to say working with somebody, but to get a proper retirement drawdown plan in place. Because what's this really about? It's income planning. How are you going to replace your paycheck, right?
Mm.
And here's the thing: is that I love to see people's expressions on their face when they realize that sometimes it's not you don't need quite as much as what a lot of times you see on those commercials on TV, right?
Yeah.
Is and break your plan up properly. Let's get the needs covered first. That's what I call the happy factor. Then worry about the wants and the wishes and the dream stuff. Yes, I would love to get you there, but let's get the happy factor done first, right?
Yeah.
And let's do the income planning.
I love that because I think I think, and I'm not a financial advisor, right? But I live in the world of people, and I think people get scared about retirement and they procrastinate because of just what you said. I don't know if I, what is,
Right.
follow the green line or whatever it is, and how much is
Right.
in your wallet or bank account? And it's like,
Right.
I don't know. And they then stagnate versus coming
Yeah.
to somebody like you to say, just what do we have? What are you
Yeah.
working with? And well, let's answer that question. Do you find that's what people do is they just stagnate?
Yeah, you hit it nail on the head because so many times people say, well, I know I really need to do this, but I'm embarrassed or I'm afraid. I don't really want to know. Here's the thing is that we're not going to bite your head off. We're going to tell you the truth. We're here to help.
Yeah,
I always tell people, look, we're going to tell you like it is. We're going to be honest and truthful with you and say, this is where you're at. This is where we need to go. Let's put a plan in place to get there. Right.
yeah,
Nothing to be ashamed about, nothing to be afraid of. And like I said, a lot of times people are often surprised where they're at compared to where they think they are.
yeah.
But it's never too late to start. Just, get that plan, get those wheels a turning.
Right, and then now let's go back to that second thing that was on my mind, and you talked about a drawdown plan, but you said it's really about income planning. And one thing I've learned, I've worked with a lot of financial advisors like you over the last decade or so, and I think one thing I've learned is if you can make sure that you have that paycheck for life
Yep.
that covers all your basic needs, it removes just a ton of stress.
It does. That's why I call that the happy factor, right? I divide stuff into needs, wants, and wishes.
Okay,
And we also my whole thing is retire happy framework. I have this retire happy framework. That's what we put our clients through to come up with a plan. And it includes not just the financials, but hey, let's take one step back, right? What's your retirement why? What do you want to do in retirement, right? And then let's figure out how we want to fund that. Then we go into the needs. If you can fund those needs and replace that paycheck, and you can sleep well at night, not knowing that you don't have to worry about, hey, can I pay my bills? That's a happy factor. That's a peace of
yeah,
mind, right? That's replacing the paycheck, and then we'll move on to the wants and the wishes. But you got to cover that base income. It's not about how many assets you have. It's about how you can generate that paycheck, right? And
yeah.
how you can sustain that for however long your retirement is, right?
Right. And part of that, part of your and I love the retire happy framework. That's really a neat concept that I think people should get into and understand because when you have that, you've got to make sure that as you're planning for retirement, it's so much more than I've got $800,000 and I've got this. There you go. Well,
Yeah.
you have to take into consideration some other factors that I'm sure you work with people on,
Oh, yeah.
inflation and taxes and Social Security and long-term care and
Right.
all those other factors that play into a
Yeah.
happy retirement, right?
Yeah, because it's like you said, there's a lot of things that you got to factor in. A lot of people think about, okay, how much money do I need? And they try to come up with this big number. And a lot of times you see those commercials, they put those numbers over your head. What's your
Yeah,
number? Well, it's just, I don't want to say it's not that simple, but that is oversimplifying it a little bit, right? Yes, you want to back into a number, but it's really broken into a couple different segments. And there are things like taxation risk, longevity risk, sequence of returns risk, market, all kinds of things. It
yeah,
sounds daunting, but you know what? It really isn't. And we know how to navigate that, and we help people through that. But there's certain things, like you mentioned, healthcare. A lot of people don't factor in the right amount of healthcare cost in retirement.
yeah,
So there are miscellaneous things you want to account for and properly account for them. Last thing we want is for you to get partway through your retirement and start running out of money or have some worries. It's not about getting to retirement. It's about getting through retirement, right?
yeah. No, that's a really good perspective right there. Talk to all right. So what's like step one for most people if they're sitting here, they're hearing this, they're going, you know what, we probably need to do something this year and start making some steps. Do
Yep.
they need to like gather all of their stuff? Do they what would be like the first step of somebody?
Yeah, so two core pieces that we would love people to do before when we talk to them, and what they need to do is to kind of take an inventory, right? So you're going to take an inventory of what you have in your 401ks, your IRAs, your 401k, 403bs. Pull your social security statement. Go to ssa.gov and pull your social security statements. That's all going to be factored into the analysis, and just take an inventory of everything that you have. That way, you're going to be prepared to come talk to someone about your finances and about the plan. We want to, and if you have, and that includes if you have pensions, if people still have that, all those things, is to take an inventory. And here's the second part of that is if you don't already have a budget, think of one, right? Because one thing that we do is instead of just coming up with a big number, we want to back into how much a month are you going to need in retirement. Sometimes that's people are kind of spin their wheels on that. It doesn't have to be set in stone.
Right.
Average person, about 75 to 80% of what you made in your working years is what you'll need in retirement. That's just a national average. I've
Yeah.
seen it be way lower, way higher. But those are the two core things. Take inventory, think about how much you're going to need to spend. And I'll put a little asterisk on there. Really, the third thing is be thinking a little bit about that, what you want to do in retirement, right? What do you want to spend your time doing? Is there a travel budget you need? Is there a, if I always tell people this, I don't care what you do, whether you're going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day or you're going to travel the world, everybody has a thing they want to do in retirement.
Yeah.
Let's fund it around that. But dream a little bit, and we're going to set another bucket aside to fund that aspect of your retirement. So it's kind of that's the first step: inventory taking, figuring out how much you need a month.
Yeah, and that's really good because I think people forget about Social Security, and you can help them with that because there are different times and ways to take Social Security,
Yeah.
and it's a nightmare all of its own, but it's not that magic number that I hit 65 and I start taking Social Security. You can, but I think you need to take that
Yeah.
inventory, talk with Shawn, and go, okay, here's where we are.
Yep.
And you probably meet a lot of people that are like me, dude. I've got no interest in retiring at 65. I'm way too
Right.
young and too much help, and I love what I do. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to work longer than that because it's
Yep.
not really work.
Right.
And that plays into my planning process,
Yeah.
right?
I'm glad you mentioned Social Security because a lot of people just think it's a one and done, right?
Yeah.
There is a way to optimize your Social Security benefit, right? Believe it or not. We take people through a Social Security optimization. But the other thing is, to your point, maybe you want to wait till 70 to get that maximum Social Security benefit. But to the other side, some people say, I want to get the maximum, but I don't want to wait till I'm 70. Okay, well, you can take it earlier. We'll figure out if you can. And then you build a what we call Social Security bridge, to get you to until you start taking Social Security, right? But here's the other thing: if you're doing what you love, like for me, I know I'm going to be doing this forever, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
going to, I might pull back later on, do less, but you got to think about taxes on your Social Security benefits, right? People
Yeah.
don't think about that as well. If you're working or taking other income, your benefits could be affected. So Social Security is a great thing, and it needs to be factored into your plan, but factored in properly, right? Account for it with all the different angles.
That's right. Yeah. It's not free money.
Right.
If you put it away, they're going to give it to you, but they're going to take some back.
Right.
And it's just, but I think a lot of these things cause people to get anxious, to
Yeah.
not take that next step. And it's not like it's not a weekend project planning
Right.
your retirement, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be a 6 month ordeal. I mean,
Not at
Shawn,
all.
you do this all day, every day.
Yep.
What's the typical process when you start? If somebody reaches out to you, they've done this due diligence beforehand, they reach out to
Yep.
you. What's kind of the first step, and then is there kind of a
Yeah.
timeline?
Yeah, no, great question. So for us, our general process is it's usually a 3 meeting process. And really the first meeting is just discovery, right? It's just getting to know you getting to know us. We figure out how each other are, if we're a good fit, and we love to get to know who we're working with so we can customize that plan for you, right? And that's a really easy meeting. We're just kind of talking and gathering data. Then we go away and we build a plan, right? And then your second meeting is you come back and we present this plan to you. And then based on your feedback, we make some tweaks and all that kind of jazz. And then if you decide to move forward with us, the third meeting is just putting it in action. It's 3 simple meetings, right? We try to do most of the heavy lifting. Even when it comes to moving things around and all that, we try to do the heavy lifting. So it's really a 3 meeting process. I've seen it take as little as 2 weeks, or as long as a couple months. It really depends how complex it is in your timeline, right? Maybe you
Right.
can't meet all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a daunting thing. It's
Yeah.
really not. We try to make it easy. I think we do. It can be fun. It can be fun. You start thinking about retirement, what you want to do, and oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I have a way to make this happen, right? But
Right.
it's not that long of a process.
Yeah. And it's normally I'm going to say this, and you may disagree, or we may have to put some asterisks. It's not as painful as people think to get in and go, because I think you said earlier, many people are in better shape than they probably think they are
Right.
because they've worked for a really long time. They've got assets. They just haven't brought it all together to go, oh, oh, yeah, oh. And
Yeah.
then they start saying, oh, maybe this is a happy day, right?
Right. And here's the other thing is maybe even for those people that aren't quite there, they're on the fringe, right? It doesn't mean you're done. So if you put the right plan together, we can get you in retirement and still get your other part of your assets working to get you over that hump. I mean, don't be afraid. Just do it. Whether you talk
Yeah.
to us or anybody else, just go do it. Get a plan, talk to somebody, get it done. You're gonna have this big sense of relief after you go talk to someone. At least you know where
Yeah.
you're at and what the next
Yeah.
steps are, right?
That's
You
right.
don't have to be anxious about it. I know for us, we try to smooth it out and make you feel, at home about it. There's no reason to be anxious about it. Just it's your future, right? Let's get it prepared and let's go get that happy retirement in place.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, Shawn, and how you help people with your. I love this, the Retire Happy framework.
Yes, sir.
And if you want to reach out and learn more about Shawn, obviously he'll tell you where to go on his website, but you can get his Amazon best-selling book, The Priority of Retirement, and you've also got a podcast they can listen to. And so,
Yes,
talk
sir.
to us about that, and talk to us where can they find out more information, get a copy of your book, things of that nature.
Yeah, so the book's on Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com, get that book. You can go to our website and check us out there as well, www.retirewisepro.com. Our podcast is named the same thing, The Priority of Retirement. It's on most of the major podcasts, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all the standards. Go ahead and check us out, subscribe. We have a lot of great guests. We talk a lot about different things. And then it's just not finances. Sometimes we talk about life and what it is, retirement, and some of the ancillary things, estate plan and taxes. We just kind of try to mix it up a little bit. So check us out.
That's good. So check that out. It's The Priority of Retirement. That's his podcast. That's his book. RetireWisePro.com is his website. We're going to have some of that in the show notes for you because we really want you to take that next step and just reach out, talk to Shawn. He's an expert at what he does. He's a good guy, and he will help you understand and create the priority of retirement for you and your family so that you don't have to worry. You're not going to sit there with your head in the sand. You're going to actually know that, hey, I'm going to retire happy because I've put a good plan in place. So, Shawn, man, thanks for who you are. Thanks for what you do to help so many people, and for being my guest today on Experts Speak.
My pleasure, Michael. Thank you for having me on and for all your help over the years.
You are quite welcome, my friend. Take care. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Tune in again next week for another great episode. God bless.